Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CGS Town Hall meeting for school reopening. Today is August 17th, 2020. This is our second attempt at this meeting tonight. Our first attempt had live participants and they were fantastic, but my recording was not working. We had a perfect storm tonight of smoke alarms and computer cords missing and things not recording. So we're going to try this again and see if we can get this presentation to you. So it is my great pleasure to introduce myself. I am the director of CGS, and I am going to try to share my screen with you. And here we go. All right. So before we begin, I want to reiterate our CGS reopening priorities. These priorities were established by our reopening task force that met from April to June last spring, where we talked about what works best for our students and what we knew we needed to have in place to have a successful year this year. We have 4 priorities. We want to ensure the health and safety of all of our students, staff, and families. We want to develop new systems and routines that allow all students to feel and be academically successful, whether they are learning online or in school. We need new systems to ensure all students feel connected to the CGS community. And we want to provide opportunities for students to make and sustain friendships. Some of the nuances of these priorities won't be the focus tonight. Our focus tonight is really on safety planning and logistics of the reopening. But we have had previous meetings regarding these priorities, our synchronous learning, our feelings about clubs, and we will continue to share information about that as the year goes forward. So first most important thing is the first day of school is September 1st, 2020. This is 1 day later than previously stated, so September 1st. And our school hours will run from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. this year. This is 15 minutes earlier than our scheduled end time. And these 15 minutes are going to accumulate and allow us to support our teachers with more and better PD this year. And we will all need it. This is new, exciting territory for us. If you did not receive an email from Mr. Hurwitz or Ms. Colley, please check your email again regarding laptop pickup. So part of the district initiative to ensure high school students are ready for remote and hybrid learning is swapping our Chromebooks for laptops. So that is happening this week. Just a reminder that all students still must complete an update and submit updated physical forms. You have to do your physical to attend school. That is a good public health policy that we are reinforcing. All families new to Norwalk must fully complete the online registration, and that includes uploading documents. We have quite a few families who have not finished that process yet. And if you don't register, you won't have a schedule and you won't get a laptop. All right, our big questions tonight. How will school be different this year? And what have we done to consider the health and safety of your child? And we'll try to answer those questions over the next few minutes. All right, so the first thing I want to stress is that CGS and Brian McMahon have been collaborating night and day on reopening school. So any policy we have in place in CGS is also true for McMahon and vice versa. So there shouldn't be any confusion between the schools. We're a united building, and everything we're doing together. Okay, so our hybrid schedule, the way this is going to work this year. So all of our students, whether they're remote or hybrid students, will be assigned to an A team or a B team. Now, this might be initially confusing because we used to use the A-B designation as our day rotations, right? We used to have block 1A, block 1B. So we're getting rid of A and B in that context, and we've reappropriated it. So everyone's going to be on an A team and a B team, and that designation will determine which days you attend school. The reason that we give our remote learners an A or B designation is because, you know, if you ever want to come back to school this year, you may have an opportunity where you're like, hey, it feels safe, I'm okay, something's changed with my family, and you come in, it's going to be much easier to do that because you'll already have a cohort. So our district calendar for September will look like this. So if I am a student and I have been designated an Group A person, then I will be attending school live in person on September 1st and September 2nd. So a 2-day rotation. I will see all of my classes and all of my teachers. And then the following 2 days, I will be at home as a remote learner, attending all of my classes, seeing all my teachers, and the B group swaps. So it's a 2-day rotation. All right, so I do want to throw out some advice we have for parents. We do want you to follow the CDC guidelines for being safe in your homes and your community. We recommend keeping a close circle of friends that you interact with, and maybe making it a little smaller than it has been in the past, and making sure you and your family follow best practices for safety. So when you're out in public, make sure you're wearing masks, using sanitizer, and social distancing. That was a little PSA here. So we're back to the hybrid model. All right, a day in the life of Angie, one of our students. So Angie is a hybrid learner. So on her face-to-face day, her schedule looks like this. She puts on her mask in the morning, takes the bus to school. She arrives, she follows directions to go to a screener table. And at the screener table, she will hand in her COVID screener, either on paper, or we're hoping to get an app, fingers crossed, so we can do this digitally. But she'll check in, she'll answer some questions. Has she been to, a state with restrictions? Has she been feeling feverish? Does she have any COVID symptoms? And she passes that screener because she is in good health and has been staying put. She heads to first period, World Lit. Now in World Lit, her teacher begins taking attendance and gives Angie a prompt for her writer's notebook. And while students are starting that writing assignment at 8:30, promptly when the bell rings, the teacher is also getting online students started on their writing prompt as well. As people come in throughout the class for the next 15 minutes or so, they get started on their writing. Finally, everyone's there and class begins for real. And the reason we have this 8:30 to 8:45 gap for arrival time is simply we anticipate it taking a little bit of time to get everybody through the screener table upon arrival. All right, at 10 o'clock, Angie is dismissed from World Lit, heads upstairs to math, but oh dear, we have one-way hallways this year for COVID. That's going to be different, but it's not bad because she'll simply exit out the CGS entrance past Mrs. Colley, go through the gym entrance so she gets a little bit of fresh air on her way to her next class, which is always welcome, heads upstairs to math, but gets there a little bit early because we are going to be staggering dismissals in 4 different shifts. So she'll wait outside her classroom until everyone in that class has left. And once they've left, she and her peers who have been socially distancing in the hallways, and they know they have been because they're following the markers on the lockers that say stand here or red X, then they head into the class where they sit in their socially distanced classroom. She finally makes it to third period, which is great because she's starving. She grabs some food from one of the carts, the grab-and-go cart stations. We will have 5 of them located around the school. She heads outside to a supervised location to sit and eat and unwind, take the mask off, enjoy some sunshine, and have a good lunch. After lunch, she returns to her third period class, which is also her house or her advisory period. So there'll be a 30-minute advisory period built into every third block. And the reason we're doing this is to accommodate the longer lunch shifts we need to make sure our transitions are slow and safe, to make sure custodians have time to really clean the tables. We love house, we love advisory. This seemed like a great way to kind of fulfill all of our needs at once. So our third period teachers will be running the advisory periods for those students. After 30 minutes of that curriculum, they'll transition to their regular curriculum, which in Angie's case is Japanese 1 with Sean Sensei. All right, then end of the day. Angie heads to PE with Mrs. Ryan. They're doing laps around the track because all PE classes will be outside unless it's raining, then they'll be inside and not exercising and trying to beat her personal best, the goals that she set for herself around the track. Angie will dismiss at 2:55. Some students dismiss at 2:50. Some students dismiss at 3 o'clock because we're staggering dismissals. They exit quickly to the bus, climb on, and are ready for home. Now, let's imagine Angie's schedule 2 days later. Same classes, but she is learning remotely. So Angie gets to sleep in until 8:10, at which point she wakes up, she gets out of bed, she brushes her hair and her teeth, she washes her face, she gets out of her pajamas, I should put that in the slide, grabs some breakfast before she logs on to first period in World Lit. Now, 8:30, the teacher begins taking attendance, and they do their writing prompt, they get ready for class to begin. Now I'm noticing in my slide that I gave her 5 minutes to get up and ready to school, and while that's realistic, this should really be 8:30. All right, so her next part of her schedule, the main differences are going to be those transitions. So for Angie learning at home, she's going to have more time in between class. So she's going to be dismissed from World Lit at 9:50. Ms. Fortuna is going to be focusing on the other ninth graders in her class as they make their transition. She's going to be making sure that they stay put and that they're good to go. So Angie will have a chance to do a quick check-in with our counselor, Mr. Casaluzzo, to answer a schedule question or a college question or something like that. She gets to math. Mr. Fine is ready and off they go. By the time third period comes around, she's going to have lunch at home, maybe take a little breath outside to get some fresh air too, because that's important for our students learning virtually as well. Japanese is going to look very similar. She will participate in-house along with everyone else, and then be participating in class along with everyone else. PE might look a little different for Angie remotely. She'll be working in her workout log, setting her goals, tracking her progress, sending Mrs. Ryan some updates on private Google Classroom messages, and then working on her exercise routine, working on those burpees. I don't know, Mrs. Ryan, I don't know if they love those burpees. And class will dismiss. Angie has a chance to chat with some friends, maybe set up an appointment to work on Zoom or Google Meets on their Japanese project. And that is a day in the life of one of our hybrid students. So here are some of the important messages from us and from the district. So we are prioritizing student health and safety as much as we can. We really want safe learning environments. So the things we've done are reducing class sizes by 50%, frequently greater since we do have students learning remotely. We're requiring masks at all times on school grounds unless you are taking a designated mask break during lunch or another time that is approved. Prepackaged sealed meals. We have more controlled transitions. We have the one-way hallways. We have staggered arrivals and dismissals. We're mitigating the COVID-19 spread through daily health screening. We do need parent help for that. We ask that you take students' temperatures every day before they go to school. Keep a daily log if you can. It's really interesting, actually, to learn what the baseline temperature of your family is. It's not always 98.6. So it's good to know that. So then you recognize changes as they happen. We'll be doing regular deep cleaning of high-touch surfaces throughout the day. Laboratories will be cleaned twice a day. We'll be cleaning workspaces within rooms. There are hand sanitizing dispensers placed in every classroom. Students will be doing that. They'll be cleaning their hands, sanitizing on the way in, on the way out, in a long period, perhaps in the middle. And the district is installing HEPA air filters in every classroom. And we're also prepared to respond to potential COVID-19 cases. So if we have a student in a classroom who is exhibiting signs that are consistent with COVID, we will take special precautions. The nurse will be called up, will escort that student to an isolation room. The people working in that room will have full PPE gear, gowns, gloves, face shields, the works. There'll be partitions to keep the student and other workers safe. There'll be a bathroom and sink specifically for that room, just in case this person does have COVID. The nurse office is separate, so students who are coming to the nurse for routine medicines or nebulizers or treatments, that won't be interrupted, and they won't be interacting with the person who may have, who has COVID-like symptoms. We'll be instituting contact tracing, and we are preparing potential quarantine guidance based on new state health guidance that has come out recently. And the new state health guidance is wonderful because it's very specific. There's no guesswork. We know exactly what to do. So if someone has COVID symptoms, they test negative, we know that they need to stay home until they feel better for 24 hours, and then they can come back to school. We know it's a different pattern if they test negative but have been exposed to someone with COVID, and it's all written down and we'll make that available so you can see it too. Okay, so a little bit about, I'm jumping around, sorry. A little bit about our just logisticals of our plan. So right now, as of last week, we had a little bit less than 25% of CGS was going to be in remote learning. And that's about the same percentage for the building as a whole. So if our normal capacity is just over 2,000, we anticipate with hybrid, about 1,600 students in the building as a whole will be participating in the hybrid program, which is just under 800 students in the building at a time, which is much better than 2,000. We will have staggered arrivals by bus. Students getting off the bus or out of a car from a parent, or if they're walking, will be directed to specific entrances. We have 4 set up outside the school with screener tables. They'll pass their screener in or show the screener personnel the app, and we'll have that process. So somebody will be looking at every kid every day, making sure that they look healthy, making sure that they haven't been to restricted areas without quarantining, etc. We will have the mask breaks during lunches, but also if students have study halls, advisory, there may be days where you just got to go outside and do advisory outside with your mask off. In-school dining, again, I think we've gone over this, but we'll have 4 lunch shifts, 5 grab-and-go stations throughout the building. Really won't have groups bigger than about 20 to 25 students in a space. Let's adjust that, probably closer to 25. And we really want kids to be eating outside as much as possible because we know that that's safer. We'll be dismissing students by grade level from class because it's much more likely that a 9th grade student is leaving a 9th grade world class and going to a 9th grade biology class or a 9th grade science class. So we can kind of shift the number of students that are in the hallway at once through these staggered dismissals. So NORWAC has decided that students who are learning virtually still have the opportunity to come after school to participate in clubs, sports if they happen, and other activities that might happen after school. So we will have a screener table set up outside at the gym entrance for students arriving after school, athletes, etc. They'll need to go through the same COVID screener, the same social distancing rules will apply. Nobody will be allowed to walk around hallways without a purposeful destination and time. Now, one of the implications of our operations plan and one of the implications of just trying to have school under COVID conditions is that it takes time to do it safely. So our transitions take time, our arrivals take time, and that has to come from somewhere. So our instructional time this year will be shorter. Our 90-minute blocks won't be 90 minutes of instructional time. It'll probably be closer to maybe 60, 70 minutes of actual instructional time, and the rest we're really devoting to safe transitions. In terms of facilities, we're using every available space as classrooms so we can really spread out, really using the space we have well. So the Mac lab is going away next year. The community room will be a classroom. We'll be buying desks, etc., to fill those needs. If you are a virtual learner, you still have access to food in Norwalk or in your home district. So food tents are usually set up around Norwalk. They'll be set up around 10 different schools. That will be true for Stanford, Bridgeport. Other cities will also have food available, just as we did last spring from March until June. This doesn't interfere with schools and sessions. Those are operated separately outside of school personnel. You know, one of the great tragedies is that in addition to not traveling, we won't be able to go on study tours this year. We won't be able to cook in the kitchen. So we're gonna have to get creative, see if we can have at-home opportunities to cook. We're looking into virtual study tours to see if we can do things that way. So for transportation, students are expected to wear masks on our vans and our buses. Metro North expects you to wear them on the train if you're taking the train. On Norwalk transportation, we will provide masks if a student doesn't have one, but we do expect parents to provide those for their children. There's no change in the number of vehicles. We do think there will be a reduction in the riders on a school bus just due to the hybrid scheduling. And there's really not a significant train for students riding the train change for students riding the train. Metro North has published advice on safe traveling while on their transportation, and we'll share that with you in a later document. All right, so our health monitoring and plan, we've talked about our screeners, we've talked about our plan if someone is ill. We are social distancing in and out of classrooms. We have hallway markers, one directional hallways. We're limiting gathering spaces to 25 people who are 6 feet apart at a time. All of those gathering spaces are going to be controlled, and they're going to have desks. So if we have 25 students hanging out in the lobby, they're not hanging out, they're sitting down in a student desk that's 6 feet apart. We'll have multiple, we will need to have multiple isolation rooms. We will have signage up, we'll have the arrows on the floor and on the walls telling you which way to go. Red dots to tell you where to stand. We have sanitizing dispensers installed in every classroom. Our teachers are getting ready to go. They are all getting conference cameras with mics and speakers. We tested out some really nice ones a couple weeks ago for CGS that I think are going to work really beautifully. We had a great time hearing people. We had some teachers all the way down the hall talking, and we were in the classroom and we could all hear each other really well. So we were really happy about that. All students are receiving laptops to replace Chromebooks, and we're trying to protect our staff. So at CGS, we're providing separate equipment, separate remotes for the overheads, separate cameras, etc. And we're providing face shields for lunch duty or hall monitoring, or in the classroom if teachers feel more comfortable using face shields. We're working on getting healthy practices for our online learners ready to go, because we really need to take care of them too. This is a strain if you're learning on a screen all day, and we want to help support and mitigate the effects of that. So the state health department has told us no football until 2021. The CX says we're pausing it and going to do it in the spring. All we know for sure is that everything is on hold until August 24th, when the CX will come back with some more information. We are also still waiting to hear about band. So that ends the formal part of our presentation. Some of the questions we got earlier tonight, we had a lot of questions about laptops and IDs for laptops. So if you have a question about the laptop or your student ID, email Mrs. Colley. And I'll put her number right up here. Her email number, her email address. There it is. And send her an email, she can help you out with that. Other questions we received were primarily around the hybrid schedule. How will a student know if they're on the A team or the B team, and when will they know? So it's probably going to take us a little bit longer to get those A teams and B teams together. We are initially making the division alphabetically, but that's kind of like the first draft, right? Because then we have to go through and we have to balance. We have to make sure that siblings are together, assuming siblings want to be together. We will try to take requests for carpooling, because we really want to encourage you to stay with cohorts of people that you're comfortable with and spending time in those close community circles. We're going to try to balance things out, so we don't have a Japanese class that has 2 kids on A days and 15 kids on B days. So we've got to go through and sort all that out. So that'll change a little bit, and that'll take us just a little bit of time to do. So it may be actually a little bit closer to the start of school year before you know what team you're on. And I'm sorry, I wish we could do it faster than that, but we want to make sure we do it well. So we'll let you know as soon as we know. If you do have a request, if you know already, like, hey, I carpool with this person, or hey, my brother's got a different last name, make sure we're on the same team, go ahead and send me an email. I would love all that information. Otherwise, I hope you're all doing well. We're very excited to see you all either online or in person as soon as we can. But take care of yourselves and email me with any questions or thoughts. We're going to have a swell year.